Megan, I'll talk more about the scrimmage run. Did you see anything positive there from last weekend?
Oh, am I allowed to say anything?
Just non-specifics.
Non-specifics. Who's the judge of that? We competed. I thought we really did compete. We didn't shoot it very well. Is that specific? See, you'll get my ass in trouble. You always ask questions that gets me in trouble. You should be more like Dave, you know, and just kind of, laid back.
So if indeed you did not shoot the ball well, and I'm not saying that because you didn't say it, but if that is in fact the case, it's two open scrimmage type things now that you've basically sucked shooting the ball is a concern.
You can't write that in the paper, can you? Sucked. Can you put that in the paper?
No.
I don't think I've ever seen it in the paper.
I'll put it in there for you.
I didn't say it, you said it. Was there a question in that?
There was a question. I mean, does that raise any
Sounded
red
like a
flags
statement.
or concerns, or after doing that in?
Yeah, but I mean, we make shots in practice. You would think at some point in time it would translate into doing it in games, but we do shoot the ball well in practice. I don't think anybody's going to say Terry Henderson's not a good shooter or Aaron Harris isn't a good shooter, because they've kind of proven that they were. They just haven't done it yet this year. They both, Aaron shot 38% from three a year ago, and Terry shot 48% in Big 12 play, which is, pretty good numbers. I think everybody take that.
The injury situation.
You guys tweet while I talk. Is that how you get it out there so damn fast?
Yep.
Wow.
So don't talk fast.
That's why I was. Do I need to slow down?
Yeah.
No.
It appears as if you're going to go into your exhibition game next week and maybe into the early part of the season with 8 healthy scholarship players. Is that true? And how much of a concern is that?
That could happen. Might be less.
Is Remy coming back, or what's his time?
I think we were thinking, like 2.5 weeks. It's been a week and a half. So I think he probably, I wouldn't think he'd play the exhibition game, but I would think he'd be ready to go by the first game. And obviously I'm not a doctor or a trainer, but if it was me, I would be ready for the first game.
If he is, then you have 9, which is, I suppose, fairly significant. But does that small number concern you right now? Not that there's anything you can do about it.
I think it becomes more of a concern if you get in foul trouble. But we were pretty good in, when was it? 2010, 2011, and we had like 8 guys. We're pretty good.
Are there things that you can determine about this team through practice that you know are strengths or weaknesses?
Honestly, I thought we'd shoot the ball well. Our best shooter to this point has been Gary Brown, and Gary's put like kind of Joe Alexander, Deshaun Butler hours in. he's there early and gets a bunch of shots up, and he has not, I don't think, ever not stayed after and got shots up. And so he's been, to this point, our most consistent shooter. I mean, you watch him shoot it, you don't, I mean, when Terry shoots it, you think it's going in, and kind of that way with Aaron. And Gary, I don't, sometimes I'm like, then it goes in. But he's put a lot of time in. I think Jawan State's been terrific on both sides of the ball. He's really trying to understand what we want done. He's, you know, when you're going to have the ball as much as he has the ball, you have to know who's going to come open and when they're going to come open, and if they don't come open, why, and what that opens up. You know, and I think he's really trying to do that. I think he's really trying to learn. I think it hit him, you know, last year in the off season, but the more you know, the better player you're going to be. I mean, obviously, guys that are great passers because they know when people are supposed to come open, and they get the ball to them accordingly. And he's gotten much better. And he's shot free throws really well. He's I think putting more pressure on the rim. You know, he's playing more east and west, or north and south. I don't know which way it is. Whatever way it is, it's not sideways.
Coach, you said before that you've kind of always been better as a team when other teams didn't really know where your scoring was going to come from. Early on, though, the season, as you try to get things situated and settled in, would you like to see a guy like Aaron or Terry, you know, step up and, you know, do the 15, 16, 17 points a game kind of thing?
Yeah.
Are they?
After being with Kenyon, Leonard Stokes, Corey Blunt, and Eric Martin, I'd retract that statement. I would just as soon have those guys. No, I think, Justin, what I said was there was a time when opposing coaches said to me, "You're harder to guard now
Right.
than you were like when you had Danny," because Danny was going to get touches. And I think the year after Danny was Bobby Brandon and Ryan Fletcher and DeJuan Baker and a bunch of guys that could score. And I think we ended up being a 2 seed. But I think you couldn't key on one particular guy. Like when we had Danny, everybody knew they had to try to contain Danny. You know, the thing about Kenyon was he passed it so well that you kind of want him to try to double him because he passed out of it so well. But nice, I think I said that's what people told me.
Right.
I would just as soon have Danny. But
Bob, to piggyback off what Dave was saying, whether it's 8 or 9, that's going to include your 3 freshmen playing a lot of them. Maybe
Yeah.
start. I don't know if that's ideal or not. That's not my question. But to what extent are they ready, and how have they looked based on what you've asked them to do, and can they grow up with that quickly?
oh, I think they've all gotten significantly better. Probably Brandon has come further, but Brandon had further to come. You know, Devin, being a Monteverdi, played a national schedule, which is, and played a lot more games. And you know, Nate picks things up pretty fast. I said earlier, I think Tom did a good job with Nate, and you know, it's just Mike is different. You know, it's like sometimes guys say, well, you know, they didn't do a very good job with him defensively. Well, I mean, what high school coach in their right mind is going to take their best player, you know, who's going to be a first-team All-State player, and say, go guard their best guy and get in foul trouble? You don't do that. You know, you put him on the worst guy because you need him in a game. So they really don't have to guard. And that's not our guys, that's everybody. And so they've got a lot to learn, I think particularly at the defensive end, about continuing to play, because they're just used to resting on defense. And that's not a bad thing. It's the way it is. And at this level, it's hard. The biggest difference in, like, for instance, Deshaun Butler or Wellington Smith, Kevin Jones, was they played through plays. They didn't at first. I mean, I don't think they would mind me saying this, but we lost the Oklahoma game. His guy scored 5 points in a matter of about 15 seconds because he just kind of was tired and kind of stood up and got screened, and the guy made 2 shots. Got him right back in the game. Where, as he matured and did a better job with his body, and when he was a senior, that didn't happen. And for us to expect that, that these guys are going to be what he was as a senior, it's not going to happen. So we're going to have to manage it as best we possibly can. That's truthful. I don't know why I tell you guys the truth. Nobody else does. I just said, well, never mind. Getting ready to indict myself again.
Can you see Terry and Aaron taking up more of that scoring role then, or can it be spread out more early on in the season?
The longer I do this, Justin, I think the biggest mistake that guys make sometimes is try to be somebody they're not. Kevin Jones ended up being a first-team All-America and a terrific player, and never really played outside of his realm, outside of his capabilities. He did what he did and did it really, really well. And, I think outside of a few guys, outside of maybe Jerry and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, I mean, there are just not a lot of guys that are really, really good at everything. But you get a guy like Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was really good at rebounding the ball and was a good defender. Kind of probably stopped there, but he didn't really try to do all those things that he couldn't do. Made him awfully marketable, obviously. And my fear sometimes with guys is, that you listen to the wrong people and you start doing things that you can't do, and then you go from being a really good player to being a bad player because you're just trying to do things outside of the realm that you ought to be doing things. And I think that happens sometimes. And if you want to do that, you probably ought to play golf or tennis. Not doubles, probably either. But because you just, you're so reliant on 4 other guys. You can get open if you don't get the ball, it doesn't do you any good. You know what I mean? It's just so. I think the things that guys don't do enough of that everybody wants to dribble. We got 8,000 dribbling drills and trainers that train them to dribble, and how about pass it maybe? And we don't do enough of that. They don't do enough of that. If that makes sense.
Coach, do you worry about finding leadership on such a young team?
No, I think Jawan Staten's done a terrific job. I think he's done a terrific job because he's it's one, everybody thinks that, leaders, they run around and bark at people, or Wani's done a great job of trying to understand what we need done, and therefore he can help guys. And he's done a really good job of that. And I think the other thing that, and I gave you the Deshaun example. I think Wani has really figured out how hard you have to play, and he's leading by example. You can't just say, I'm going to be the leader and tell everybody what to do when you don't do it yourself. And I think Wani's done a really good job of leading by example as well as becoming more verbal. But you have to do it yourself before you can expect anybody else to do it.
Have you noticed it? Like, is there anything in particular so far you've noticed he's done different this season than last season?
Made some shots. He's just better. I mean, our defense is way better when he's on the floor. He's tried to learn. You know, he understands making rotations. He's obviously gifted. He gets from one place to another quicker than most guys do. But he goes to the right place now, and he's way better on the ball. I mean, I think he would tell you last year. I think, you know, his mentality was conserve myself. You know, and that just goes back to being, you know, the best guy in high school. But I think he understands now how hard he's got to play. And I think he trusts, too, the fact that if you play hard and you need a break, you can go back in whenever you want. I mean, I've always been that way. And guys like who subbed them, they subbed themselves because I didn't take them out because they did anything wrong. I took them out because they were tired. And I think you can get guys to play harder. You know, if a guy's playing really hard and he gets tired and you take him out and you don't put him back in, he's going to probably just try to stay out there and not play as hard. So I've always been, if you take yourself out, you can put yourself back in.
What kind of things will you be looking for, keeping an eye on during the exhibition?
Jared, I'm going to watch Jared. I've heard a lot of things about Jared's on the bench. I don't want to miss any of it. Hopefully, Justin, we make some shots. I think we're extremely capable of making shots. We've got to run better offense, but I think everybody says that this time of the year. We've got to get better defensively, but it's that time of the year. Everybody says that.
Aaron and Terry, if they play together, you're sort of small at the 2 and the 3 combined, but do you have to play them a lot together, even more so than the other last year?
That's our league, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas was probably the biggest team in our league a year ago. I would know. Maybe Baylor was. But Baylor played 3 guards. Kansas 3-man was basically recruited him to be a guard. He ended up being a 3. But I think that's what our league is. Our league is 3 guards and 2 bigs. And sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's 4 perimeter guys and 1 big. Look what Iowa State did. The leading rebounder in our league really is a 3. They play him at 4 or something, but he's 3. He led the league in rebounding. So I don't think that's an issue.
This program and fan base, do you think it's grasped on to the Big 12 more so, understands it more now after having gone through it for a year already?
No, I don't. I mean, yeah, Justin, we played Pitt for 100 years or whatever it's been. And you're not going to, you just don't wipe that away. But, about this time, everybody started talking about the backyard brawl in football, even though it was 3 weeks away or whatever it was. It's been that way forever. It's going to take some time. Just like it took some time probably. I wasn't here, but probably when you went from the Atlantic 10 to the Big East, it probably took some time. Probably a lot of people missed, the Temple rivalry or just the way it works. Was there a rivalry, Temple? I don't know. I wasn't here. Probably.
Yeah.
John kind of makes it that way.
You don't have a John Chaney mask, but everyone had John Chaney.
No, I don't. We used to play him every year.
He has told you his Barney Fife story and all that thing.
Who, John?
Yeah.
Oh, John's told me a lot of stories. some of which I believe.
Anything else?
Thanks.
Judge.